Hello and welcome. Hopefully everyone is starting to join now. Thank you for joining us today on the webinar. Dan, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Emma. How's things your end?
Yes, all good. Enjoying this fabulous weather we've been getting here in the UK.
Yeah, it's been beautiful, isn't it? I've actually managed to get a bit of a tan, which is a bit of a surprise. But my glow on the camera today is hopefully not too orange. But yeah, it's been lovely.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's probably our summer, so let's make the most of it if you can. I hope you guys have had a chance to enjoy it as well. If you are based in the UK or wherever you are in the world, hopefully you're getting nice weather too. But yeah, it's a little bit out of the ordinary for us here. So yeah, we're loving it. But yeah, hopefully everyone has had time to join now, and people are still coming in. But yeah, I'm just gonna jump straight into it here. So if you just don't mind, I will share my screen. Great. Okay, so today is the product update webinar. So we're going to be covering everything that has been happening kind of in the last 6 months here at defense.com. It's been super exciting. There's been loads coming out of the woodwork for our customers here. So super excited to have Dan here to walk us through that later. My name is Emma. I am the product marketing specialist here at defense.com. And yeah, as I said, we're joined by Dan here. Dan, do you want to do a little bit of an intro?
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, as Emma mentioned, I'm Dan, head of customer operations at defense.com. We're a few different hats, but one of the things I'm really heavily involved in is working with our customers, our tech support and kind of technical teams, and our developers as well. So one of my jobs is to make sure that we're getting all the feedback from all of our customers and our teams, and turning that into a really good kind of solid roadmap of new features and functionality. So super excited to show off some of that functionality that we've built off the back of that feedback, but also at the end have a bit of a chat around some of the bits and pieces we've got coming up. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Amazing. Fab. So a little bit of housekeeping stuff from me. So we have a chat section here. There's actually a chat and question section in the bottom right hand corner of your screens. Feel free to use the chat for any comments, any feedback. We'd love to hear as much from you guys as possible. And please be as engaged as possible. And then we also have the questions section, so put in your specific questions in there. We have our product experts. There's a number of guys on hand today to answer those just as they come in. We're not specifically dedicating live Q&A here, but we will just answer those as they come in, and any that might be missed, we will get back to you. So yeah, please keep them coming in. We're really looking forward to hearing from you guys. And then of course the session is being recorded today. It'll be emailed out after, so please check your emails, check your junk, mark us as not spam or whatever if you do find it as in there, to make sure that you get all those afterwards. And if you need to jump off, no problem at all. You can catch up later. But yeah, so a little bit about defense.com. Today we're joined, I know there's a lot of our current clients and partners on the call today, so thank you guys for joining us today. We hope you find this session super useful, and we'll definitely plan in some more if you do find it helpful. So please let us know again in the chat section if that is something you would like to see. For those of you who maybe don't know about defense.com or aren't already a user of ours, I'm just gonna chat a little bit about what we do. So essentially, we're all about making smart security simple. So we are about making cybersecurity easy, cost-effective for small and medium-sized businesses. We aim to provide the enterprise-grade security, but without the enterprise-grade price tag. Our platform is designed to help organizations elevate their security strategy quickly by providing loads of different tools and technologies all in the one place. So you can see a little bit of that in the toolkit here on screen. And basically just making it super easy and accessible for all businesses to keep on top of their cybersecurity. And of course, if you want to learn more about that, you can head over to our website, defense.com, and read all about us there. Moving on to what's coming up, so the good stuff. So Dan is going to be shortly giving us a live walkthrough of all these things here. So we have our new home dashboard. It's been refreshed. It's really visual, really engaging. So he's going to chat us through that. Then next up will be our latest integration. So we have a really cool integration with Google Workspace, which is huge, Okta and a few others as well. Thirdly is our automations. So again, another really exciting feature where you can use predefined rules to instantly contain threats. Then our Orbital agent, so that's a new endpoint agent, which is basically all about security and compliance simplified and combined. And then our webhooks. And finally, what is coming next? So a sneak peek into all our cool new features that the team are currently working on. And that is all from me. So over to you, Dan.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Emma. Right, so I'll share my screen and we'll jump straight into it. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, kicking it off with our dashboard. So because of the nature of our product, we know we've got a number of different types of user within the platform. So that will range from kind of really technical, non-technical, experience in security, not experience in security. And obviously, as you can imagine, when designing a dashboard, you've got to try and meet the needs of all these different types of users. So that's a really difficult thing to do, but that's what we've tried to do here. And kind of the first thing that we wanted to do is make threats and the threat management part of our product kind of front and center in that dashboard, and try and put data in there and visualizations in there that will kind of meet the needs of those various different types of users. So what we've tried to do here is just kind of call out, kind of what active threats you have in the product at this moment in time, what things we think need your attention, and broken those down by criticality, so you can kind of prioritize your efforts and kind of focus on the most critical things first and work your way down. We're also kind of tracking where those threats are coming from. So here we've got like a breakdown by month of the different sources of the threats that have been detected. So in this kind of case, in January 25, we're looking at, kind of 39 threats have come from our endpoint protection tool, and the rest have come from kind of security events. So it gives you that kind of really high level overview of where everything's kind of coming from, and again will allow you to kind of prioritize where to spend your time. We're kind of tracking just the number of threats detected over time as well, so you can start to look at trends. Really, really interesting for a kind of leadership point of view. How is defense.com and how are the teams within your business that are using it able to kind of improve your security over time. And again, a similar sort of thing where we're looking at age of threat. So obviously issues as they get older potentially present more risk, because the longer they're out there, the more chance there is that they could be exploited or exposed. So yeah, we're trying to make it super clear that whether you've got lots of threats which are kind of new and fresh, and or stuff that's kind of stagnated for a little while. And then kind of moving over to the right hand side, this is more about the action that you've taken. So we're looking at the number of threats that have been closed over time, and also what were the outcomes of those threats. So in this case, we've got a lot that have been closed down in kind of a false positive state. So although we've kind of detected something and alerted you about it, the decision's been made that there's nothing needing to be done about it. But then that's also broken out by our other kind of threat states of kind of whether you fixed it, you accept the risk, or whether you've got other measures in place to kind of bypass and mitigate that risk. And then just at the bottom here, some kind of metrics around how quickly it takes you to respond to threats, and how quickly you can close them off. So really powerful kind of metrics for leadership, or if you've got kind of people responsible for information security in the business want to know and understand, from the point at which an issue is detected, how quickly you're able to turn that around and do something about it. So yeah, we've kind of tried to keep this top section really, really threat focused. And another section I just want to kind of talk about quickly, particularly for users of our MDR services, or anybody interested in MDR services, or our kind of SIM technology within the product. Our kind of managed SIM, SOC and MDR services are one of those things where it's almost good that you don't hear from us. But we wanted to be able to demonstrate and present back to people in the platform what's going on behind the scenes. And that's kind of where this security events detected kind of tile came in. We wanted to be able to demonstrate how many of the things that are being detected by our tooling and our products were being triaged by our security operations team, and effectively meant that you didn't need to do anything about them as a user. So yeah, in this kind of instance, we've got a breakdown of kind of 64% of things have been triaged by SOC, and then the rest have been escalated to the customer or to the user for action or further investigation. And then, yeah, we've got kind of a breakdown of some of the typical sorts of things you want to know from like a SIM platform perspective, like how many logs we're processing over time, what security events that have been raised require some action from you, and then again, that kind of breakdown of where have those events come from, what are the outcome of them, what risk they present, and also kind of some visualization around our coverage. So of the assets that exist within defense.com, how many of those or what percentage of those are actually being monitored by our security operations team? Could be a ton of different reasons why they might not be being monitored by us. But again, it gives you that kind of insight of how much coverage we've got across the across your estate. So we're kind of giving everything else in the dashboard a bit of a lick of paint, covering off some of our integrations, which I'll talk more about in a minute, but then also kind of breaking it down into these kind of core areas within the product. So we've kind of broken up our tooling into this kind of prevention, detection, training response kind of concept, and that's kind of represented here. But yeah, ton of work gone into it. We've had really good feedback so far from the users that have got kind of hands-on with it. We'd absolutely love more feedback and more ideas around the types of metrics and data that you need and want to see and that are actually useful and actionable. So yeah, absolutely jam those ideas into the chat, or reach out to us after the webinar, and we can kind of talk about that in more detail.
Yeah, it's looking really good, Dan. And just this is only the first version of the evolution of the dashboard, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we focused on trying to provide a solution that would serve the largest majority of users in the platform or the most engaged users. Something we're looking to do in the kind of immediate future is look at how we create an MSP or MSSP focused version of this to support our partners better, but also looking at those users who come into defense.com to complete training and all of that kind of good stuff, because obviously some of this functionality, some of this data isn't relevant to them. So yeah, absolutely looking at the other kind of viewpoints of the dashboard, and also in the future looking at how we can make it a bit more configurable. So if there are specific things you want to see and or other things you're maybe not so concerned about, giving you a bit more control of that so that you can really drill down on those things you really care about. Okie dokie. Right, so let's move on to talk about integrations. Those of you that are users of defense.com already will probably have seen a lot of noise communication from us around our integration center and all the good work we've done there. One of the big things we're trying to do with defense.com is make it essentially vendor agnostic, because we know, although we're targeting small, medium-sized businesses, a lot of those will already have existing security tooling, and will already have contracts in place with other vendors, and maybe don't want to necessarily use some of the native tooling in the product. And what we didn't want to do is kind of exclude those businesses and those users, because defense.com can absolutely still add value. I've had so many conversations with people who have this problem of disparate systems and having to log into tons and tons of different dashboards and products and services to just manage security as a whole. So that's where our integrations come in. So we've got a handful of integrations currently live in the product right now, tons more behind the scenes that you can't see here. But our newest one is kind of Google Workspace. So we've had a Microsoft 365 integration for some time, and what we wanted to try and do is give businesses using Google Workspace kind of feature and functionality parity between those two integrations. So essentially what this integration will do is pull in the alerts and kind of configuration findings and things from Google's security center and turn those into threats, so you can manage those nice and easily in our threat management system. But we will also pull in all of your users from Google Workspace and give you response capabilities. So where we detect potentially bad things happening, you can then nice and quickly take action on those users within your Google Workspace account and allow you to disable or re-enable those. So if we just jump very quickly into our kind of people section, So all of the kind of users within defense.com, so people who can actually log into it, but also those what we call people, so not users of defense.com, but people we're aware of through your integrations like Google Workspace, all come into this section here. And if I just jump down into some of the users down the bottom here, because they're some of the newest ones we've added. 1 second. Drop down. There we go. So here we've got some of the users that have been pulled in from our new Google Workspace integration. Obviously, this is demo data, but what you'll find here is you can obviously upgrade those people to users in the platform if they need to access it. But you've also got the access to disable those user accounts. So that will go and disable the user account within Google Workspace and help mitigate the risk of an issue related to that user potentially getting worse. So yeah, all about being able to allow you to quickly respond to things so that you can then take the time to kind of investigate what's happened, understand kind of next steps, and allow you to kind of stop things in their tracks. Just jumping back to integrations very quickly. Another integration that we've added very recently is for Okta. So we've got a ton of users kind of who have been sending us logs from Okta for quite some time. We wanted to make sure we got kind of an integration for it within the UI. So this will basically allow us to pull in log data and activity logs around users managing your Okta environment. So again, nice, quick and easy setup. It's all kind of wizard based. If we jump into that quickly, you can see kind of what the requirements are. And yeah, it's just a step-by-step wizard. Input the details, we'll confirm that we've got connectivity, and then we'll start to pull those logs in and start to detect suspicious activity and alert you about it. But that's pretty much it from an integrations point of view. Moving on to Orbital. So Orbital has been in the works for quite some time. What we saw was kind of going back to this vendor agnostic kind of idea. Again, lots of businesses have already got security tooling in place, got EDR products in place. A lot of businesses, Microsoft House is using Defender, for example. And what we wanted to do was start to capture some of the information about those devices that maybe some of those tools don't. But also, again, give businesses response capabilities, give ourselves response capability should something bad happen, be detected through those tools. And that's kind of where Orbital comes in. There's also a big compliance angle to it too, which I'll talk about more in a few moments. But essentially, Orbital is a super lightweight bit of software that currently supports Windows and Linux, and we're working on a Mac kind of support for it as well. And what Orbital will do is automatically generate a profile of your assets within the organization. So wherever it gets installed, it pulls in information about those assets. So we can, as you can see here, you've got kind of the index page which lists all of the devices where Orbital was installed. But if I go and jump into one of these, we can view all of the applications that are installed on that device and the versions of those applications. So in future, we're going to be looking to do some kind of cross-checking of those versions versus vulnerabilities, and being able to do kind of almost like a lightweight vulnerability scan on the device and be able to report back, where things are vulnerable. We're pulling in obviously details about the operating system for a similar purpose. The agent itself will allow you to isolate the device, so to disconnect it from being able to connect to external networks. So should you ever suspect that a device has become compromised or is involved in some kind of nefarious activity, you can stop it in its tracks in an instant, click the isolate button, and that will be kind of contained so that it can be kind of looked into further. You can also kind of remote uninstall the product too. So obviously slightly more mature businesses with kind of IT teams using RMM systems are obviously going to be doing deployment and uninstall kind of in an automated way. But should you want to do that through mydefense.com, you absolutely can do that. Hit the uninstall button, that takes the agent away. But on the compliance side of things, so what we're basically doing is some kind of basic configuration checks. As you can see here, this has picked up that this machine has a service called auto run enabled, and that is something that within Cyber Essentials, for example, is would be a fail. So what we've tried to look at is Cyber Essentials and some of the other kind of compliance standards, and then look at how we could easily kind of tick some of the boxes needed to meet the requirements of those standards. What checks can we do to make that compliance process a lot easier, straightforward, and less time consuming for businesses? And that's exactly what we've tried to do here with this feature. Any kind of devices that don't meet the requirements of those checks, we create threats for them. Obviously, we're showing it here in the UI, but again, it goes into our threat management system, so you can kind of look after the process of kind of remediating those issues nice and easily. Lots more to come on that compliance kind of side of things and configuration checking side of things, but I feel like we've got a really good starting point. And again, we'd love it if those of you who are not those of you that are kind of users of the platform and are keen to kind of check it out and test it out, give us feedback on that, and what kind of feedback on what else you'd like to see from that tool. That's absolutely perfect for us. So give us a shout. Okie dokie. Right. So
sorry, we've had customers asking just when this launched, kind of what is the difference between Orbital being, so it's an endpoint agent, and then we obviously have endpoint protection. Can you explain a bit about how they work together?
Yeah, so they kind of serve two very different purposes, really. Our endpoint protection tool is a full-blown EDR, does anti-malware, antivirus kind of checking, and has got a ton of other functionality around content control, device control. It does anti-phishing, all of that kind of good stuff. Whereas Orbital isn't designed to be that. It's a completely separate entity. It serves a different purpose. There may be some things Orbital can do, like kind of isolating devices, that an EDR tool would also be able to do. But the configuration checking side of things and the compliance angle, I definitely think is something that where Orbital is very different. And they're meant to serve very different purposes. They will run side by side nicely. They don't get in each other's way. And Orbital, as I've kind of mentioned already, is super lightweight. So you're not going to see any performance impact on the devices running it, even if you've already got an EDR in situ.
Cool. Yeah, so essentially you need both.
Absolutely. But it just makes our kind of whole MDR functionality better. To kind of put it briefly, and it also, again, not to labor a point, but it just means you don't have to rip out what you've already got running. So if you're not running our EDR and you're running something else, install Orbital alongside it, and that'll increase the capabilities and the visibility that you get within our products around what devices you have, what configuration changes you potentially need to make, and allow you to take action really quickly. Okie dokie. Right, so moving on from that, I want to talk about automations. So we've had a lot of conversations with customers and potential customers where it's all well and good telling people that a thing is happening, but somebody's got to take action on that thing. We obviously offer a fully managed MDR service where we will take that action for you, but not all businesses have the budget for that. And I think a lot of people that I've spoken to are also just looking for a little bit of peace of mind that, if you don't have 24/7 teams able to respond to these things in an instant all of the time, you need something else to kind of add an additional bit of support. And that's where our automation feature has kind of come from. So essentially what our automations functionality allows you to do is create rules. And those rules are based on detections or runbooks. And when those things are triggered, then we can go and take a predefined action on your behalf. So let me just kind of jump in and show you what that process looks like. So if I jump in to create a new automation here. So the first kind of point that you need to kind of go through is picking the, what the triggers for taking this action. So I'll kind of select a couple here, just an example. So in the scenario where a security enabled universal group was created or a user right was assigned, if those were things you'd want to take action on immediately, I'm not saying they are, but if they were, you'd select those, you'd give your rule a name, hit next, and then it's a case of picking what action should be taken in the event of that thing happening. So I don't know, let's say, for example, we want to disable any users associated to that behavior. Hit next again, and then you kind of get to our exceptions kind of settings, which I'll show you again in more detail in a second. But essentially the exceptions, there are two types of exception. So there's time exceptions. So that's where the automation will or won't run based on the time of day. So just going back to the scenario where if you don't have 24/7 technical teams and you want to only cover out of hours or weekends, then you can configure this to do so. Just enable the days that you want the exceptions to exist, so Saturday and Sunday in this case, and then just hit next. But the other kind of exception is around users and assets, and I'll talk about that in more detail in a second. So we just confirm this and enable it and click create. So you see kind of down here, we've got a list of kind of configured automation rules, which are all enabled there. So that'll now can sort of sit in the background, and as soon as those kind of detections are triggered, this rule will then go and take action. And you can get kind of a breakdown of the action that the rules will take in the kind of side drawer we've got here. We also notify you once an automation has been triggered, whether that succeeds or if it fails for some reason. And within those notifications, you've got the ability to really quickly kind of get in and kind of take action to reverse automation actions as well. Should something be triggered and you actually didn't want it to take action for some reason, you can also undo that really quickly. So if we just jump back up to the top here, so managing exceptions. So we just jump in here. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there's also this concept of excluding users and assets from this. So if there are some really, really critical assets within your infrastructure or users within your platform that of course, if you detect something potentially suspicious going on, you're going to need to take some form of action. But if you don't want us to shut it off in the middle of the night, this is where you would control that. So you literally just select the users that you don't want to take action on, or the assets you don't want to take action on. Save those exceptions, and when the detections are triggered, the automation will realize there's an exception there in it, and it won't take action on that. But yeah, in terms of kind of automations, features, functionality, again, we've tried to keep it super simple, make it super accessible. And part of that is by creating templates. So we will suggest, based on the detections you have enabled for your account, we will suggest templates, which you can use to create new rules. So in this case, for example, we've got a rule, which is a template for a rule, which is for isolating and scanning a device where ransomware is detected. So you can basically copy from that template and then configure it based on how you want it to work exactly. But yeah, again, hopefully makes it nice and simple and kind of easy to access and set up. Perfect. So that kind of covers it from an automations perspective. The last thing that I wanted to just kind of talk about is our new webhook feature. So let me jump in to that area of the platform quickly. So defense.com obviously will notify you about things happening through email inside the application. But again, just kind of going back to this concept of the product being vendor agnostic, we know that businesses will already have workflows and processes for dealing with situations where something security related happens, whether that's you've run a pen test and that's found a bunch of new vulnerabilities or a scan or whatever it may be, and to force those businesses to tear up those processes and systems and use our threat management instead doesn't make a lot of sense in some cases. So that's why we wanted to kind of build this webhook functionality, which effectively means that defense.com will push out information about threats and tickets into your third-party systems. So that you don't have to necessarily jump into our product, go and deal with them. You'll get alerted in whatever system you've set it up with, and you can take action there like you normally would. So in terms of kind of configuring that, again, I guess sound like a broken record at this point, but we've tried to make it as kind of straightforward and as simple as we can. So it's a really, it's just a case of giving it a name, a description, popping in the URL for which you want the webhook to hit, which obviously would be something that's configured on the third-party tool side. And then it's just a case of selecting what the triggers are for that webhook. So like I say, we're kind of covering support tickets and threats for these scenarios at the moment. So if a ticket gets created, for example, if we create one kind of reaching out to you, then you can select that. But then we've also got a similar thing for kind of threats being created, closed, updated, etc. What you will also get is an example of the payload, like the JSON payload that the webhook will send. So you can get a good idea of how the data is structured. And if you need to do any configuration on your end to kind of map fields and that kind of good stuff, this will give you a good starting point for that. So yeah, you would save that, set it up, and then whenever those actions happen within your account, they'll immediately hit your kind of third-party tools.
And Dan, what sort of third-party tools are we talking about here? What can integrate? What's compatible with webhooks?
Yeah, good question. Essentially anything that'll accept an incoming webhook, but just on looking at specifics, we work with a lot of MSPs who have PSA tooling or ticket systems. They want to hit they don't want to deal with tickets and threats within our product. They want them to go out to these systems. So those are good examples of kind of use cases for webhooks that we've seen, but also things like Slack and Teams. We internally deal with all of the threats that are detected by our products and by our tooling via Teams. So we get a Teams notification when new threat detections come in, and we have kind of a group of the key people who would deal with those things for us as a business in Teams. So yeah, it is a bit of a feels like a bit of a rubbish answer almost, but yeah, literally anything that can accept an incoming webhook. Obviously, if there's any kind of particular workflows or scenarios that aren't currently catered for this, again, please let us know. We want that feedback. We know that webhooks has got a lot of legs to it. There's lots of different features, functionality in the product where we might want to send webhooks in various scenarios, but we wanted to focus on threats and tickets because they seem like the most obvious kind of starting point for us, and then hopefully we can get our kind of customers and potential customers to kind of feedback and help us steer that ship and the products as a whole. But yeah,
Brilliant.
That's everything for webhooks, and that pretty much concludes kind of the features and functionality walkthrough. Again, broken record time, but please let us know if you have questions, feedback, ideas, thoughts, all of those kind of good stuff around the product and where it's going and your experiences of it. But yeah, I'll stop waffling and I'll hand back to Emma.
Great, thank you, Dan. Yeah, I'm just gonna share my screen again. I'm just gonna steal that and we can jump into the good stuff on what is coming next. So we've 3 really exciting new features here that are kind of in the pipeline at the moment. Dan, do you want to chat a bit more about them?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize in advance if everybody's sick of the sound of my voice at this point. But yeah, we're really excited about where defense.com is going, and the products as a whole. I'll be honest, we could probably be here all day talking about some of the cool stuff that we're doing. We've tried to narrow it down to kind of 3 key kind of features and functionality that we're looking at. And I can hear everybody rolling their eyes, but AI is obviously a big part of that journey, because simply it is going to save, I think it's going to save people a lot of time. And actually, the way we want to try and use AI is to, again, going back to this kind of simplicity and accessibility journey type thing, we think that we can use AI in sensible ways to make or make it easier for people who are maybe not that technical or as technical as others or as experienced in security, and make it kind of a bit more understandable. So our starting point for that is our AI kind of analyst. So within our SIM functionality, for those of you that used it, you'll be aware that we create threats or kind of security events within there, which contain, information about the things we've detected, what investigation our SOC has done. The log data as well is included in that, so you can see like how we've detected what we've found. And we're creating like an AI analyst which will allow you to ask questions about those events, to summarize them, to go into more detail about what's the potential risk of leaving this kind of unmitigated or unremediated, and yeah, give you nice, simple, straightforward answers back in plain English so that you can know what action you need to take, why you need to take it, and if you can't, like what the potential risks are. So we're super excited to get that in. We're currently building that as we speak. I know our devs are kind of hammering away at that, so yeah, really excited to get that into product and again get that out in front of everybody. Moving on from that, kind of touched on the compliance piece around Orbital. We have other, ultimately most or all of the functionality in defense.com will help with compliance in one way, shape or form. We already have like a compliance kind of questionnaire concept called the cyber assessment. But what we wanted to do again is make that quicker, easier to use and more automated where it's sensible to do so. Because, especially if you're not particularly well versed in it or well prepared for it, audits and the compliance process for the various standards can be really time consuming and difficult to do. So what we're wanting to do is essentially use our cyber assessment and involve it so that where feasible, we can answer the questions on your behalf. So, for example, where you're required to have certain policies and procedures, we will allow you to upload those policies and procedures into our product. The cyber assessment will detect that you've done that and be able to answer questions, the questions related to those in an automated way. The same way in which Orbital does configuration checking. If a compliance standard requires you to ensure that all of your devices in scope have automatic updates enabled, we'll be able to answer that question automatically because we already have Orbital in situ. We know what the configuration looks like, and then it's just about joining those two things together in a nice kind of easy way so that when you assess yourself, we already know the answer, so we're going to give that to you. So yeah, again, we're super excited about that. I think that has got a lot of potential as a feature, and yeah, we're again, that's something we're actively kind of looking at and hope to get out in front of people very soon. And no doubt Emma and the team will be hitting all your inboxes to let you know and get you to test it out. Last but not least, then we've got our kind of web application scanning feature. So we've had vulnerability scanning within defense.com since day dot, pretty much. That's kind of more external infrastructure focused. We've had lots of feedback from customers, partners, that they need to plug the web application scanning gap. So it's a really good way of kind of bridging the gap between pen tests. Obviously, not all businesses can afford to do lots and lots of pen testing because it's not necessarily a cheap exercise, nor should it be, because you're getting a really thorough assessment from an expert in this stuff. But the application scanning should give us a ton more kind of functionality around identifying vulnerabilities that might put you at risk. And yeah, we're kind of really excited to look at how, I think historically application scanning is fraught with kind of challenges, making sure that it's scanning the right parts of the application, it's doing it in a sensible way, it's not flooding you with false positives because the scanner isn't configured properly to understand how the application works. And I think that's been it's always been a theme for us at defense.com. How can we take on a challenge that looks really difficult and really simplify it and make it easy to use? And we're doing the exact same thing with app scanning. So yeah, really looking forward to that one, actually. Looking forward to seeing how we can turn app scanning into something that's really easy to use and yeah, hopefully add a ton of value for people. But Yeah, I mean, like I say, could go on and on and on, but those are the
Sure.
three key things we wanted to talk about today. And no doubt there'll be hopefully more webinars like this and more comms as we kind of bring out new and exciting features.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what Dan said. It's a really exciting time here at defense.com. I'm still relatively new to the team here. And it's been a super exciting last 6 months, and seeing everything come together is great. But yeah. So that is essentially a wrap from us today. Thank you so much for joining us and engaging in the webinar. We hope you find it useful. Hopefully you can see the poll in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Please vote in that. We'd love to know what kind of webinars you want to see next, whether it's things like this, like what we've done today, or kind of more educational style content. Please let us know, take a vote in that, and we can make that happen. If you're already a defense.com customer, log in, try out these features for yourself today. If you're not sure if anything is available as part of your plan, please reach out. There's contact details there for myself and Dan, or your dedicated sales rep. If you have one as well, reach out and we can take a look at that. And of course, if you're not a defense.com customer, why not? We have a 28-day free trial, so there's QR code there. You can visit our website and get started with that and get to try out all the cool things that we have talked about today. But yeah, guys, that is it. Hope to see you all again soon in the next webinar, and we'll keep you posted on when that'll be. And thank you again to Dan for joining us today and walking through the product. Yeah. Bye.
So, all right, thanks all. Cheers.